There were drawings covering every inch of the walls, symbols no one recognized, and not a single word. It was early September 2019 when the Hanley family, Julia, her husband Alex, and their two children, Sophie and Max, pulled up outside their new home in rural Connecticut. A two-story Victorian, weathered but proud, surrounded by sugar maples and whispering pines. The house had stood empty for almost 5 years, its previous owner deceased, and the estate tangled in probate. Julia, holding a box of heirloom dishes, squinted up at the peeling dormer windows. She felt something else, the hush of forgotten stories, the way old places sometimes feel almost aware. Inside, the Hanleys explored, an ornate staircase, creaky floorboards, stained glass doors. The layout was typical, except for one peculiarity, an oddly protruding wall between the master bedroom and the hallway closet. It seemed to eat into the room's dimensions. Alex, his curiosity piqued, ran his palm along the paneling, noting the faint seam barely wider than a hair. The realtor had brushed off questions, calling it just old architecture. Days passed. Boxes were unpacked, routines set. Julia, a graphic designer, was drawn to the house's eccentric moldings and hand-carved mantelpieces. Sophie, age 9, declared the attic her spy headquarters. Max, 5, was less enthused, already convinced the cellar was haunted. Still, the family felt that familiar cocoon of new beginnings. Until one damp Thursday, when a heavy nor'easter rumbled in. With thunder outside, Julia scoured the upstairs bedroom for a missing box. She knocked into the strange wall and heard it, a hollow ring, not like the solid oak elsewhere. Calling Alex, they examined it again. Exploring further, Alex discovered the tiniest indentation. He pressed it. There was a mechanical click. A section of the wall, no more than 3 feet wide, slowly swung outward, exposing a sealed room no one had known existed. The space inside was barely 10 feet by 6, claustrophobic, windowless, smelling faintly of dust and faded paint. The family clustered at the doorway, jaws slack, hearts racing. Every surface, the walls, ceiling, even the floor, was covered with meticulously drawn symbols and shapes. Concentric circles, geometric figures, hundreds of eyes, entwined branches, clocks with broken hands. Not a single letter, not a single word. There were also objects, a rusted lantern, a stack of brittle newspapers, dating back to 1953 and 1968. Local events, always with the obituaries, clipped out, and a battered suitcase, locked tight. No sign of who had created this secret place, nor why it had remained hidden for decades. The Hanleys stared into the darkness, unsettled but transfixed. Who had lived here, painting shapes behind a false wall where no one would ever look? Sophie whispered, "Do you think someone got trapped?" Julia wrapped an arm around her. Max clung to Alex, wide-eyed. Even the cat, Churchill, refused to come near. It was the first step into what would become a haunting search for answers. A journey beneath the surface of a seemingly ordinary family home, slowly revealing that some secrets were never meant to be unearthed. The Hanleys' curiosity quickly overshadowed their initial fear. That Friday night, after the kids fell asleep, Julia and Alex sat by the kitchen window, sifting through the few clues salvaged from the sealed chamber. They agreed. Nothing would be moved, no symbols erased. Julia snapped photos for later reference. Alex, practical as always, picked up the locked suitcase and turned it in his hands, searching for a code, a trick, anything to release the latch. The drawings proved the most immediately perplexing. Julia, browsing online forums that weekend, discovered that some of the symbols resembled old alchemical diagrams, sigils for transformation and protection. Others looked like outsider art, full of repetition and compulsion, almost obsessive. One design, a ring of eyes interwoven with forked branches, was eerily reminiscent of a protective talisman used in 19th century New England homes to ward off wicked spirits. She wondered, was the artist seeking safety or hiding something far more personal? The newspapers deepened the mystery. They contained mundane stories, local bake-off winners, civic budgets, rainfall records. With obituaries expertly sliced out, it was as if someone had meticulously obscured their own past, or taken steps to anonymize who might have gone missing from the house. The only date written anywhere at all was a single penciled June 1969 on the suitcase's side. On Saturday, the Hanleys called the previous owner's daughter, Linda Parrish. Over crackling phone lines, Linda sounded indifferent, even curt. She'd lived there as a child but denied all knowledge of hidden rooms or strange artwork. Her father, Walter Parsons, had been a reclusive insurance adjuster, prone to melancholy but never the creative type. He was afraid of storms and the dark, Linda recalled. He'd sometimes nail boards over windows on windy nights. That's all. You're probably reading too much into it. Linda hung up, Julia still clutching the receiver. The next clue came when Alex turned to local records and property maps. He found something alarming. The room's footprint did not appear on any 20th century plans. Only a faint mention in an 1888 ledger referencing a nursery off the master suite. That raised chilling possibilities. Had someone walled off a child's bedroom? Why was it kept secret year after year? Sunday, Julia posted pictures of the symbols to a historical society forum. An expert in folk magic messaged her across continents. Many of these markings are associated with protection rituals common in rural Connecticut during the late 1800s, especially among families grieving a loss or facing epidemics. The cryptic drawings took on a sharper edge. This might be more than mere eccentricity. Meanwhile, Sophie confided to her mother that she had started dreaming of the room at night, always half awake, seeing the eyes watching her from the inside. Max, too, grew withdrawn and quiet, refusing to sleep upstairs. It all came to a head on Monday, when Alex, with trepidation, forced open the suitcase's tin clasp. Inside, he found faded children's shoes, a yellowed photograph of a boy in short trousers, no names, only the date, June 1969, written on the back, and a slim diary wrapped in muslin. The diary, its pages half torn, entries scattered with frantic ink, described a child named Samuel, trapped in his room by a great fear that lived in the walls. The mother, it seemed, had drawn protection symbols to keep that fear at bay, desperately resisting something she believed was haunting their home. A pause settled on the Hanleys later that evening. They huddled together at the dinner table, reflecting on what it would mean to build a shelter from the unknown. Was this simple human terror, blown out of proportion by grief and isolation, or had something truly strange corrupted the family before them? Julia comforted Sophie, explaining how history leaves imprints, sometimes beautiful, sometimes tragic. She wondered aloud whether secrets like these deserved to be revealed or gently left to rest. The Hanleys spent that evening in quiet thought, their ordinary family drama suddenly intertwined with someone else's profound suffering. The sealed room was not simply a product of architectural quirks. It was a monument to anxiety, isolation, and desperate hope. A place where a profoundly human urge to protect one's child collided with forces that could never be entirely named. Days turned to weeks, and the Hanleys grappled with the implications of their discovery. Julia, now sleepless and plagued by dreams of the unblinking eyes, pressed on with her investigation. At the local library, she pored over microfilmed census logs and crime reports, piecing together snatches of the family's fate. The diary had given a critical clue, a single last page, ink smeared and near illegible, where Samuel writes, "Mother says the fear can't get me. Not here. I must never talk about the dark. There are drawings in the margins, broken clocks with hands spinning, houses with no doors, and a recurring symbol, a circle of eyes, that seems both protective and suffocating." Then Julia made a breakthrough. An archived article from June 1969 referenced a Parsons family tragedy. The story was short, almost perfunctory. Samuel Parsons, aged 7, reportedly succumbed to a sudden illness. But the record stopped there. No funeral listing, no obituary. Further digging revealed that several local children from the same era were listed as deaths at home, with causes described only as unknown. In each case, the family left town within a year. A pattern: isolation, secrecy, and deliberate erasure. Reeling, Julia contacted a historian of New England folklore, Professor Hazel Grimm, known for chronicling spiritual apotropaics, rituals intended to ward off evil. After studying Julia's photos, Professor Grimm confirmed that the circle of eyes motif was last recorded in 1892, associated with epidemics blamed on malevolent presences. "This isn't just grief or superstition," she said. "These families believed their art could fight off literal darkness, a darkness given life by loss and fear." The next night, a squall battered the house, rain rattling glass and thunder booming overhead. Suddenly, Sophie screamed from her bedroom. Julia and Alex rushed in to find her pointing at the closet. Thin cracks had appeared on its back wall, and impossibly, charcoal black lines now snaked across the plaster, precise copies of the watchful eyes from the secret room. Shaken, the family gathered in the kitchen and called an emergency contractor. In the morning, the team cut through the closet wall, discovering a hidden channel, a narrow crawl space running along the house's spine, linking the secret room to several other walled-off spaces. Within, only dust and traces of ink remained. But the revelation was profound. The sealed room was part of a network, designed, perhaps, to let fear and hope coexist in liminal, hidden places. The Hanleys faced a choice: restore and memorialize the hidden room, or seal it up again, preserving its mystery. Together they elected to close it, but not erase it. Julia painted the outer wall soft blue and hung a copy of Samuel's drawing, a single circled eye, beside the family's photographs. The house grew quieter in the following weeks. The children resumed normal routines, and the psychic weight slowly lifted. Still, Julia would sometimes catch Alex standing at the door to the secret room, lost in thought. Sophie, too, now seemed both wiser and more fearful, her own childhood haunted by empathy for a boy who faded from memory so long ago. The Hanleys never again spoke of the room in hushed tones. Instead, it became part of their family's tapestry, a past they refused to deny, but also refused to let define them. Julia shared Samuel's story at the local library, donating the diary and photograph to a regional museum that chronicled unsolved memories. The house, once haunted by secrecy, became a symbol for something quietly radical, confronting inherited anxieties with empathy, refusing the cycle of isolation. Word spread about the Hanleys' discovery. Local families began to revisit their own cellars and attics, searching for hidden rooms and forgotten objects, trying to unravel their personal histories. Sometimes they found nothing but cobwebs. Sometimes they found diaries filled with hope or fear or longing. In this way, the Hanleys' strange journey reminded an entire community that every home is built atop countless invisible stories, some tragic, many redemptive. The legal system, for its part, took little interest in the Parsons mystery. The deaths were too old for prosecution, the records too incomplete. Still, rumors persisted. Neighbors speculated about curses, about mental illness, about the ways grief can shape an entire architecture. That ambiguity became the final legacy of the sealed room, a symbol for what can never fully be understood, only honored and remembered. As for the Hanleys, the lesson was simple. Sometimes protecting those you love involves facing darkness, not denying it. Secrets may fester, but with courage, even the most oppressive spaces can be transformed into tributes to human hope and resilience.
Don't forget to subscribe to Real Mystery Reports for more strange, dark, and profoundly human stories. New true mysteries every day.